What is good, everybody? My name is Mr. Hooksy, and I'm coming back with a brand new video. This is actually one of my first videos on the channel talking about NBA basketball. If you don't know me, I'm a big basketball fan. I love the game of basketball, and now I'm going to start making basketball videos for my channel. And what better video to make than talking about day one of free agency. So we'll go team by team, look at some of the deals that they made, and we're just going to discuss them. So starting off is the Milwaukee Bucks. They've made two big deals already by signing Brook Lopez to a 4-year, $52 million deal and Chris Middleton to a 5-year, $178 million deal. Both players are huge pieces to their teams, and or to the Bucks rather, and they're very good pieces, and I'm sure they'll help the Bucks possibly win a ring and help Giannis win a ring. I think the Bucks' main priority now that they have these two guys is re-signing Malcolm Brogdon, because Mirotic is gone, which kind of sucks. But they need to re-sign Malcolm Brogdon, or it might not look too good for the Bucks' future. Moving on, the Bulls just signed Thaddeus Young to a 3-year, $41 million deal. I'm not too sure why the Bulls would do this. This is a good term, and it's not too much money, but they do have Lauri Markkanen, so it wouldn't make sense unless they're planning for Thad Young to come off the bench and they want to start making a playoff run now. That would be great, especially since they got their point guard of the future in Kobe White. Now, this is one of the first big deals. The Celtics just signed Kemba Walker to a 4-year, $141 million contract. Kemba, he's slightly worse than Kyrie, but he's a better locker room presence, so it will be interesting to see how the Celtics will do, especially since they had a really good draft. And speaking of the Celtics, they also lost Terry Rozier and Kyrie Irving, and I'll actually talk about them later on in the video. Moving on to another team, the Grizzlies just signed Jonas Valanciunas to a 3-year, $45 million deal. This seems to be a great deal for the Grizzlies, as they just need some players. Like, they're in rebuild mode, so they just need some young players that have some potential. Maybe Jonas becomes a star like he was supposed to be when he was drafted 5th overall by the Raptors. And he's not on too big of a contract. It's only 3 years and $15 million per year. Now, the Hornets, they signed Terry Rozier to a 3-year, $58 million deal, and this is involved in a sign and trade that included Kemba Walker and Kyrie Irving. The Kings signed Trevor Ariza to a 2-year, $25 million deal, and Harrison Barnes to a 4-year, $85 million deal. And they also signed Dwayne Dedmon to a 3-year, $40 million deal. The Kings are making some major moves, and it seems like this year is the year that the Kings want to make the playoffs. The Magic signed Terrence Ross to a 4-year, $45 million deal. Now, Terrence Ross, he's a nice athletic wing, 3-and-D player. I don't know how, exactly why the Magic would sign him to that long of a deal, because he doesn't really have too much potential left in him. But he is a great piece, and it's also for a relatively cheap deal, so go Magic. The Mavericks signed Kristaps Porzingis to a 5-year, $185 million deal. Now, this is huge because they did basically trade Dennis Smith Jr. and some kind of like throwaway players for Kristaps Porzingis, and now that deal is looking like an absolute steal, rhyming accidentally, for the Dallas Mavericks. Porzingis is locked up for 5 years, and that only solidifies the Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis tandem, and hopefully he can come back and prove everyone wrong and prove everyone that he is actually a great player in the NBA. Not that anyone was doubting him, but just for those doubters out there. Now, moving on to the big deals. So, the Brooklyn Nets, looking like one of the offseason's biggest winners right now. They signed Kyrie Irving to a 4-year, $141 million contract. One of the best point guards in the league. going to the Brooklyn Nets. And then that's not it. They also signed two marquee players, with Kevin Durant with a 4-year, $164 million max deal. That is absolutely insane. Now, Kevin Durant is coming off an Achilles rupture, which is not good. But in about 2 years, he'll be back in the swing of things. He might never be the same Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant isn't that player that relies heavily on athleticism. Obviously, athleticism's a major part of the game. I'm not denying that. But he also has the ability to shoot over people, and like his shooting ability is second to none, basically, in relation to his height. So he'll still be a good player. I don't know what happens because he suffered one of the worst injuries in sports, but still, that's a big deal for the Brooklyn Nets. And now they also signed DeAndre Jordan. Now, when I first heard of this, I'm not too sure why exactly they would sign him. Now, DeAndre Jordan's an absolute beast on the boards, and he improved his free throw shooting, but I'm not too sure how this fits in with the rest of the Nets, because they do have Jarrett Allen. So will DeAndre come off the bench, or will Jarrett Allen come off the bench? Or maybe DeAndre can be a mentor for Jarrett Allen, so when DeAndre gets old and leaves, Jarrett Allen can take things from his game and put it into his. And they also signed another key role player in Garrett Temple to a 2-year, $10 million deal. The Nets are making some major moves. The Pelicans also are making big moves. Not only do they have a huge draft, but right now they're kicking off free agency by signing J.J. Redick to a 2-year, $26.5 million deal. This is an absolute steal for the Pelicans because J.J. Redick is a really good shooter and he could really space out the floor. And that's something that the Pelicans need, especially when, or the Pelicans need, my bad. Especially with drafting Zion and Jackson Hayes, two guys that aren't really known for their shooting. Now the Pistons, they also made some pretty big moves. Actually, no, not really. But they signed Derrick Rose to a 2-year, $15 million deal. Now, that, in my opinion, I believe that's an absolute steal by the Pistons because, like, it's Derrick Rose, one of the better guards coming off the bench, and it's only, like, $15 million for 2 years. It's not even $15 million a season. And then the Rockets signed Gerald Green to a 1-year deal, like, re-signed him. And then the Spurs re-signed Rudy Gay to a 2-year, $32 million deal. Okay, so there's been some new added information about Milwaukee and the Malcolm Brogdon situation. So now, according to Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN, Malcolm Brogdon has agreed to a 4-year, $85 million deal with the Indiana Pacers. Indiana has also gotten Jeremy Lamb, and Thomas Bryant signed with the Washington Wizards on a 3-year, $25 million deal. This is a huge blow for the Milwaukee Bucks. Malcolm Brogdon was a key player, one of their better shooters, and now he's gone. It will be interesting to see how the Bucks respond to this. It has also just been reported that Ricky Rubio is going to the Suns. The Suns are in desperate need of a point guard, and this might be a step in the right direction, especially since having a terrible draft. Another slightly big deal is Rodney Hood has agreed to a 2-year, $16 million deal to Portland. Rodney Hood obviously was a key contributor to Portland in their Eastern Conference Finals run before they were eliminated by the Golden State Warriors. Now, I'm only planning on reporting the first hour, and it's been about the hour mark of free agency. I'll include all the major deals in tomorrow's video, but some big takeaways so far is the Warriors and the Bucks are two of the biggest losers. First of all, the Warriors are a big loser because they lost Kevin Durant. Now, Kevin Durant wasn't going to be playing next year anyway, but now it's a huge blow to them because they lost a huge superstar caliber player. Now, will they make the playoffs? Most likely. But I'm not too sure how far of a playoff run they'll have. And also the Milwaukee Bucks in losing Malcolm Brogdon. Now, they will get compensation since he is a restricted free agent. But Brogdon was one of the best shooters on the team, and he was important in that Raptors series where they lost 4 straight games to lose in 6 games to the Raptors. But in those first 2 games, he was a very important piece. That, him and Mirotic. So it'll be interesting to see how the Bucks will recover from this massive loss and sign free agents that will help them. But I'm not too sure now because they had Brogdon's bird rights, which means they can go over the cap. But since they signed Lopez and Middleton, they'll have to rely on their mid-level exception to sign higher-tier players. Anyway, that's it for the video, guys. I'll keep you all posted in tomorrow's video, and peace.